we talked about the different types of alien species. There's like 69 that we potentially know of. Now, what's the difference between extraterrestrials versus light entities or interdimensional beings or plasmoids?
Great question, and it causes a lot of confusion. So on my YouTube channel, I've just started my own podcast, the Dr. Stephen Greer Show, and every week you can get an update on what's going on. Now, in one of the YouTube videos on that site, it has a whole deep dive into what I call ETs and the new cosmology, what kind of understanding of the cosmos is needed. I think one of the biggest sources of confusion on this subject is the commingling and confusion between interstellar extraterrestrial biological entities and their craft, man-made lookalikes, and the third, people call extra-dimensional or interdimensional entities. And that's where you get folks who confuse something that's from another dimension with something from another star system. And the reason there's a lot of confusion on it, part of it's deliberate, is sort of where they want to shove paranormal onto UFO science. And it's risky because when you start dealing with extra-dimensional, interdimensional, are you talking about angels, demons, boogums, your great-grandmother who pops into this dimension like a poltergeist phenomenon? What are you talking about? So it's not helpful. And what I have seen happen, and I think it's deliberate, I think it's an attempt to obfuscate, confuse people. And obfuscation is a very good term. They sort of mix it all together and confuse people looking into this, is that they will deliberately blend into ufology and ET. I like being specific. So I don't like the term alien. Alien means all the above. Because whatever people think they don't know it's alien, it's foreign, therefore it's alien. Now, I'm very specific. Okay, you're going to hear a little bit of the obsessive-compulsive doctor part come out here. But I speak of EBINs, extraterrestrial biological entities, who are from other star systems, right? Specific. That's when I say a UFO or ET. I make a very clear distinction between that and the man-made craft and critters that simulate ETs that are used in deceptive operations. And actually, the proper name for false flag at the Pentagon is a deceptive indication and warning, deceptive INW. So the other is this extra-dimensional or interdimensional phenomenon, kind of like Stranger Things. And that's real. And you can actually have physical phenomenon happen and things that you see that aren't extraterrestrial or man-made, but that are from another dimension. So 3 things. It's very simple. Real ET, man-made UFOs and fake ETs, and things from other dimensions that are weird. And one of the things I think is dangerous about that is that if you don't have enough knowledge to make a discernment of it, you put them all together. And there you're lost. Now you're lost forever. I think this is why Tucker Carlson, who's a conservative talk show host, he's been going around saying, well, the aliens are demons and they're demonic and they're... because he has been targeted with that same crowd of disinformation people with this combination of UFOs, non-human, and that's why I don't like the term NHI or non-human intelligence. Well, non-human is what? Dolphins. Some say they're more intelligent than humans. Wouldn't be hard to be. Cetaceans. Something from another dimension. Someone from another planet. So I think the lack of clarity on the language is actually deliberate, and I think it's done to confuse people and to confuse the phenomena, plural. So you have multiple phenomena going on, all being talked about as if it's the same thing. Not helpful at all. In fact, it's very harmful. And I love when I was at the Vatican years ago when Pope John Paul was Pope, his senior theologian, a great guy named Monsignor Balducci, and he said, neither angels nor demons need flying saucers. And it was so simple, and he was a demonologist. He was like the top demonologist at the Vatican. Kind of creepy stuff. But he says no, it is totally separate. But I think there is a deliberate attempt in certain quarters to conflate, confuse all this different phenomena. And I'm so glad you asked it, because it's actually one of the very first things in the briefing document on the one-pager for leaders in our country and elsewhere is, this is what's being confused. So let's get some clarity here and get our lexicon, our word usage down accurately, because otherwise you're talking around each other. What are you talking about? Now, there's another subcategory of extradimensional or interdimensional, and that's human-induced extradimensional. So let's say you figured out some very sophisticated physics and electronics at certain frequencies. You can tap into another dimension and pull something out of that dimension into 3D. It's not extraterrestrial. It's not innately coming in. It's induced. That's what Skinwalker is. That's what the Bradshaw Ranch is. And I know how they do it. I know who's doing it, why they're doing it, right? But that's not the same as extraterrestrial. So, here's one of the problems we have. I said this earlier, a little knowledge is a very dangerous thing, because what happens is when you don't have enough information, it's a very confusing picture. And in that confusion, you can be led to reach the wrong conclusions. And that's what's going on in the U.S. government and in the public and in the media.